Hello students, welcome to Math Lesson 114. Today is May 13th, 2020, and we are talking about formulas today. Formulas to help us solve perimeter, area, and volume. We are using real-world problems. These are things that you will actually have to figure out one day, and hopefully you remember it all from your 5th grade math class. So formulas describe the process for solving certain types of problems. Sometimes we need a formula. That formula is consistent and it helps us figure out what it is we're doing. So, today our first example is the Jacksons. All right, you can see a little picture of the Jacksons' dining room. They have added a dining room to a corner of their house. Mr. Jackson purchased crown molding that will be installed at the intersection of the walls and the ceiling in his dining room. So as you can see, crown molding will go on down here and at the top. So crown molding costs $5 per foot to install. What will Mr. Jackson cost for having the crown molding installed be? So the first thing we have to do is figure out what the perimeter is. All right, so we have 2 times the length, 2 times the width, right? So 2 times, we can see the length is 15. So 2 times 15 and 2 times 12. So 2 times 15 is 30. 2 times 12 is 24. Add those two together and we get 54. Then we need to multiply that times 5, right? 54 feet times 5, and it costs $270 for him to have crown molding put in. All right, now, why is the perimeter recorded in feet and not in square feet? Because the perimeter is measured in units of length, not square units. All right, let's move on to example number 2. So, on example number 2, Mrs. Jackson wants to buy carpet for the dining room floor. How many square feet of carpet are needed to cover the floor? So, when we're talking about carpet, we're talking about the area, right? We're talking about inside. You can see the gray area. That would be where the carpet would go, of course. So the carpet covers the floor area of the room. So we use the area formula to determine the amount of carpet needed. So area formula, area equals length times width. So we take 15, this length, times the 12 feet, and we get 180 square feet. Mrs. Jackson will need 180 square feet of carpet to cover the floor. The carpet Mrs. Jackson has chosen costs $5 per square foot. So we would have to figure out how much the carpet would cost. So we would end up doing the 180, let's make that bigger, times 5. I think that sounds pretty cheap for carpet. So I have my 0, obviously. My 8 times 5 is 40. Put my other 0 here. I put my 4 up here. 1 times 5 is 5 plus 4. I have $900 for carpet. Correct? And that actually sounds really cheap too. And I have gotten carpet for rooms, so don't let that fool you. All right, now, example 3. We are going to talk about to heat and cool the new room, the Jacksons need to know the volume of the room. How many additional cubic feet of air need to be heated or cooled? So when we're doing volume, we use the formula V equals length times width times height. So as you can see, we're taking our length times our width times our height. All right, so 15 times 12 times 10 equals 1,800 cubic feet. All right, and that's how many cubic feet they have to heat or cool depending on the time of year. So why is this answer recorded in cubic feet and not square feet? Well, volume is measured in cubic inches, right? So cubic, we have 3 measurements that we are doing. 3 measurements. Cubic would be this, got to fill up that whole area with hot or cold air, correct? So that is why we need volume. or we need cubic units, okay? All right, our next problem says the Jackson's son, DeMont, has a trunk in his room for storing toys. Mrs. Jackson plans to put a liner on the floor of the trunk. Choose a formula that you would use to decide how much the area the liner will cover. Well, guess what? We're doing area. So the liner, we need to do length times width, right? So we do length times width, 36 inches by 30 inches. We get 1,080 square inches. So that'll cover the bottom of this trunk. Now, the border is pasted to a perimeter of the trunk. So we need to find the perimeter. So we are doing 2 times length, 2 times width. All right, so 2 times 36 and 2 times 30 inches. So the perimeter will be 132 inches. The border around the inside of this trunk here will be 132 inches. All right, next we are on to our lesson practice. Okay, for our lesson practice today, we need to refer to the diagrams in the other problems. All right, so to help us answer the problems for each practice problem and to show the formula we would use. So the Jacksons want to cover one 12-foot wall of the dining room with wallpaper. Now, remember that I'm going back to the room in example 1. They have a 12-foot wall here. The height is 10 feet. So we're going to take the 12 times the 10 to figure out the area of wallpaper that this one wall will be covered in. Okay? So we need to take area, and we need to do, for this one right here, we are doing area equals length times width. So guess what? It's a 12-foot long wall, and the height that we would need to use, because it's going up, will be 10 feet. So 12 times 10, as we all know, is 120, right? So it is 120 square feet, correct? All right, now we need to calculate the storage capacity of DeMont's toy box in cubic feet. So guess what? The capacity. That means that we are looking at what this could hold inside of it, right? How much stuff we could put in there. All right, so we need to do for our formula, we need to look at these, and we are doing length for volume to fill it up. We're doing length times width times height, correct? Now, it says that we're going to calculate it in square feet. So we need to think about the volume. Oh, let's go back. We need to think about this chest. So we have 36 inches, correct? Well, 36 inches is 3 feet, right? 3 feet. Then we have 30 inches, which is 2.5 feet. Oh, well, we have 24 inches here too, because that is, here, I'm going to change this, 2.5 feet. And then we have 24 inches, which is 2 feet. So let's do 3 times 2 is 6, right? And then 6 times 2.5. So I'm going to write that right here, 2.5 times 6. 5 times 6 is 30. 2 times 3 is 12, plus 3 is 15. Or 2 times 6 is 12, plus 3 is 15. So we have the volume of that box is going to be equal to 15 feet. All right, now on our last problem, the diagram below is a top view of the Jackson's house, showing the outside walls. The dashes show the outside wall of the new dining room. calculate the perimeter of the house. All right, so what we need to do is we do perimeter equals 2 length plus 2 width. I love when I write with this pen. It's so messy. Okay, so I'm going to take, and my length would be 25 plus a 15, which is 40, right? So this wall right here is 40 feet when you're adding these two together, right? Then I have to take my 35-foot wall, right? I multiply that times 2. 35 times 2 is 70. 40 times 2 is 80. So I need to add my 70 feet plus my 80 feet, and that equals 150 feet. Oh, that's going off the page. That equals 150 feet for the perimeter. All right, you could either add these, 35 plus 35 is 70, 40 plus 40 is 80, and then add them together, or you can use the formula P equals 2L plus 2W. All right, good luck on your homework. Have fun, and we will see you at 10.